So just a quick recap of what we saw yesterday. Yesterday was the first session, so we just had an introduction about everyone, and then we went through the course agenda. So let me just bring up the course agenda. So this is the course agenda which we went through yesterday. We saw what all the modules we'll be talking about, and the subtopics and the course methodologies, everything. So this is what we saw in our yesterday session. And then we talked about the course durations and the modules, everything. So I just thought I will also put it as a document here for your references. So as part of the training, you will have access to all the recordings, and then you will have access to the Fusion applications, and then you will have access to all the materials which we have shared. Everything would be put in a OneDrive as well. And then the training would be from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. till 9:30 a.m. IST. And then as part of the training, we'll also help you with the resume preparation, certification preparation, and project documents, case studies. Okay. And then the modules, we will cover ORC, on Oracle Recruiting Cloud. And then we'll also be covering onboarding. Onboarding is nothing but the journeys. And then we will also be covering the goal management and performance management. So on the whole, we have a duration of 50 hours, but we will not be very keen to just stick only to the 50 hours duration. But it is like we're a little flexible. If certain topics, like if you need to spend rather than 24 hours, if you need to end up spending 27, 28 or 30 hours on work, we would never hesitate to do that. You just ensure like the entire audience it is they are familiarized with the topics. Yes. And then the sessions, so as I said, each session we will have like the duration of the each session would be 1.5 hours, which is 90 minutes. So we'll spend maximum 15 minutes on the PPT and then 65 minutes on the demo, and then we'll have 10 minutes on Q&A. So we'll have a Q&A at the beginning of the session and at the end of the session as well. So, any doubts or questions so far, team, before I proceed?
Nothing from my side, Hari.
Not from my side either.
Okay, hi, Manisha, good morning.
Hi, Harish. Good morning to you.
So, yesterday we talked about, the fusion, the fusion application, and we also talked about your skills and qualifications, everything. And I remember, everyone like you're new to the fusion applications, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what I thought is like, I'll just, even in today's session, I thought of, getting, little more into the details about Fusion application so that, it would be easier for everyone's understanding. Okay. So this is how the Fusion application will look like. But let me just sign out and then let me just come from the beginning. I mean, from the login page. And team, since like all the sessions have been recorded for your references, right? You guys can be on mute, and you can unmute yourself at any given point of time, and then you can shoot out your questions. Okay, so this is the Fusion login page. This is how the login page of the application would look like. Okay, so what would be the first question from the customer when they see this page is like, Harish, is there a way we can customize this page? I don't want this page to be so blank. Like, this page is looking so blank. I wanted to put my logo instead of Oracle logo here. So we have this Oracle logo here, right? So the first thing customer says is, we don't want Oracle logo here. This is our company, instance, right? And we want our employees to see only, our logo here. And instead of this black, everything, they wanted to customize it. And the response or the solution to that is this page is completely, uncustomizable. That means we cannot make any customizations on this page. Okay. So That's one thing, which we have been requesting Oracle for very, very long time. And Oracle, for some reasons, they are very keen that, they don't want to customize. They don't want to allow people to customize this login page. But there are certain instances, certain customers, what happens is they will have one more box here. So, like, let me just open one of my another customer instance. If you notice, like, you will see, this is also another login page. Okay? But here you will see this company single sign-on. Okay? So we guys would have heard about SSO, right? SSO is like, it's a single sign-on. That means we can use our Microsoft credentials to get into the application without the need to have separate username password. Okay? So once I click on the company sign-on, what will happen is it will directly, it will check if we have already signed in with our Microsoft accounts. If we have already have signed in with our Microsoft account, then it will automatically get signed in. Okay? And then some user accounts can be based on your Windows login. If you're logged in into the Windows using the same logged in Windows user, right? The Fusion sign in will also works. So this is a single sign-on. This is something advanced level setup. So let's not worry about it for now. So now coming back to our Fusion application, this is the login page, and then we have the username and the password. And then if the users would like to reset their passwords, then we have this forget password link. And the next common thing, what many people ask is like, see, Fusion supports multilingual. Fusion is a multilingual. That means Fusion supports multiple languages. Okay. So when you say, Fusion supports multiple languages, the first thing the customer asks you is, Harish, how many languages does Fusion support? And the easiest and the simplest way to find out, the list of languages which is supported by Fusion is here you see the select language, right? You will see all the languages which are supported by Fusion. So only these are the languages which are supported by Fusion. Okay? So that means if you have a customer who are from GCC, then, for them Arabic. And then, we have Chinese, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Thai, Russian. We have, the languages has been covered accordingly. So what happens if you choose these languages here? So now when I choose Arabic, you see all these contents has been, automatically changed here. All the seeded data will be automatically translated because Oracle has provided the translations. And any custom data, we have to provide the translations. So if I just logged in, so the moment I log in into the data, right, you see all the, text, everything like, all the seeded ones has been, translated to Arabic. I just go to, this is me, I believe. Yeah. So you see all the data has been translated, but here, if you see, this text are still showing in English. That means these are the custom data. And all these are like, custom data. Hence, we are seeing those data in English. So now that, I use these two different terminologies called seeded and custom. You guys have any idea what is the difference between seeded and custom?
Seeded is something which is already done in the parental framework and that cannot be changed. Is it something like that?
Yes, exactly. So as the name says seeded, so any data which comes as part of the Oracle as a standard solution from our standard data from Oracle, those we call it as seeded data. Anything which we create customly is called as custom data. And going forward in deep into our training sessions, like, we would be using these terminologies very frequently. And then once you start working into the Fusion application, you would be using these terminologies very, very often. So whenever you start doing an implementation or in support projects, you keep using this data terminologies with the customers. This could be related to your data or your setups, configurations, or like, your testings, wherever you go, we will be using this terminologies very often, which is seeded and custom. Anything which comes from Oracle, we call it them as seeded. Anything which the users will be creating, those are called as custom. So now coming back to our languages. So we can see, all the contents, everything has been automatically changed. So now let me just sign in. And the same behavior, you will see it in all the other languages as well. So let me just get the user. So let's say if I choose Russian, all the data has been automatically translated. All the seeded data is automatically translated. And then we, every page will support, translations, where whenever we create any custom data, we can able to see those translations as well. That we'll see in detail once we go in deep into the fusion. Once we go deep in our training sessions, we'll be seeing how to provide the translations for the custom data which we have created.
Harish, this language change is only applicable for seeded data, right? So
Yes.
custom, okay.
So now I just choose English. Let me just get the password once. So now that we have logged in into the Fusion application, and then this is how the look and feel would look like. Okay, this is the basic the Oracle Redwood theme. Okay, and then based on your requirement from your customer, we can fine tune with the themes. We can change the background colors. We can change the logo, and we here also we have certain limitations or restrictions when it comes to the customization, which is, let's say if the customer comes and asks, okay, let's say if the customers are from GCC, and then they say, Harish, we don't want the logo to be here. Instead of here, we want the logo to be here. And then, all this has to be moved there. Even in the English version, even if the employee logged in using English, they should see this. If they logged in using Arabic, this is a default option. But when they logged in English also, they wanted this to be changed. So this kind of customization, it is not possible. So there are certain customizations, like, let's say, in here, right, I can put some text box, with some hyperlinks. Those things can be done. I can change the logo to be different. I can change the logo size. Those things can be done. Hmm. But with certain customizations are not possible at this point of time. Okay. So once we logged in into the application, we let us first understand, the different tools which we have. Okay. So first we have this, three lines here, right? So what is this three lines? This three lines is what we call it as, navigator. If I just go back, so we call this button as a navigator. Okay? And then one good thing in Fusion is like we have a lot of good functionalities in Fusion. One of the functionalities, like when you hover the mouse on top of any of the icon, right, you will get an help text. If you see below the icon, below the mouse, I see a text called navigator. Is it clear in the Zoom team? No, you guys can able to see the text navigator.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
No way, I'm not able to see it.
Let me just. Is it? Can you able to see now, Manisha?
Yeah, I'm able to say it's Ashwini, I think.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was me. Yeah, who was?
Sorry. Can you able to see us, Ashwini now?
Um,
Navigator.
yes, Harish.
Okay, perfect. Hmm. So similarly, if I just hover the mouse on any other icons, you will see an help text. Okay. So we have different help text here. So the first and the most important icon which we have is the navigator. The reason being is from navigator, we can able to access all the applications and tools. Hmm. And then the next we have is the settings and settings action. So this one which we have, right, which says HI, this is called as settings and actions. Okay. And then the next very commonly used icon is the bell icon. Actually, from an end user perspective, the most commonly used icon is the bell icon. Okay? Because this is where they see all the notifications which has been sent to them. Like, if there are any approvals or any FIs, anything, which the user has to be communicated, they will see that in the bell icon. So when they click on the bell icon, they'll see all the notifications. And then for the settings and actions, basically, if they wanted to sign out of the application, or like, if they wanted to access setup, anything, again, into the setups, we still go to settings and actions. So these are the most commonly used, icons we have in the Fusion applications. And the next thing, important thing is, like, if you look at the URL of this instance, right? It is very long, right? It says, HTTPS, FA-edu, SAS, FA demo1 .ds hyphen. It's like so complex. And if I just get into some, other instances, right, you will see a different URLs. So what is the meaning of that URL? So ideally, when you start working on a customer instance, okay, so this URL is different because there is an Oracle demo instance. But when you start working on a customer instance, right, this is how the URL will look like. Okay? So you will see something like, abcd.test.fa.em3 and everything. So let us first understand the URL, because this is the most important and the basics which most of the people would not be aware about. If you go and ask any experienced people who have been working with Fusion for a long time, right? Not everyone, like, I would not say even most, like, few people, there are still, good amount of people who don't have idea about what is this URL breakdown. See, in the URL, this is like, the instance URL. We have different segments here. So anything after a dot is a segment. Okay? So here, just give me a second. Let me just try to. So if you see this particular section, right, it is a segment here. .fa is a segment. .em3 is a segment. And then in Fusion, right, we have three types of instances, okay, or the applications. The first one which we have is the test instance. Okay, we basically use it for testing. And then we have dev instance, which is in short, dev in short is like for the development instance. And then production, which is the live instance. Okay. And so based on the projects, based on the customers, like, the customers will have multiple instances. So let's say some customers, right, one of my a customer from Dubai, they are into shipping and logistics. Okay. So, they have like, 5 different test instance, and then they have 15 different dev instance. So they have instances like, dev 1 to dev 15, and then test 1 to test 5. So based on your projects, you will have your instances, the number of instances. If there are customers who are implementing multiple modules, multiple legal entities, multiple phases, then, they will have different instances for, each of their implementations. Okay. So now that, we talked about, the different type of instances, the most important, the production, which is your live instance, where, all the employees would be using the application. So now let us try to, see how the instances URL would look like. For example, if it is a test instance, this is how it would look like. If there are multiple test instances, then, you'll see something like, test 1 or dev 1, dev 2, and then production instance. You will not, if you don't see test or dev in the URL, then it means it's a production instance. Right? And then, this is how the URLs will look like for production and for the test instance. So now that, we have seen all the different kind of instances, everything, right? Let us try to understand each segment in the URL. So the first segment which we have is like, the ABCD in the instance. Right? So what is this? This is the customer code which is, defined or given by the Oracle. So for each and every customer, Oracle would be giving an, a four letter customer code. So some customers, they might have like, pure alphabetic. Some customers might have like an alphanumeric as well. But to the customers which I've seen in the last 8, 10 years, like, all the customers were using, only alphabetics. So based on the customers, they would be getting their, the URLs.
Uh, Harish, one query regarding the customer code. Is it
Yes.
auto-generated from Oracle or it is?
Yeah, Oracle, they, you see how they generate it. I'm not sure, but this has been provided by Oracle. So based on, the customer name, the enterprise name, they have certain mechanisms through which they generate it, because this is common, right? Across all the thousands of customers across the globe, this code is, very unique.
Okay. Fine.
And then we have this test or dev, right? So when we see test or dev in the URL, then it represents that this is a development or testing environment. So just because, like, let's say we have this dev instance, it doesn't mean that we use this instance only for development. Ideally, the name says dev instance, but in a real-time scenario, we will not be using this instance only for development. We may use dev instance for testing, and then we may use test instance for development. These things will happen. It's all based on the instance planning, how we use, right? Based on that, this particular things works. Okay? So next we have is the tester dev. If you see this text in the URL, then you can able to understand that this is a testing instance or a development instance. And then this kind of instance, right, the test or the dev, we have a very common name for this two instances, which we call it as staging instance. In real time, right, we use this term called staging instances. And see, these kind of terminologies are very critical from your interview perspective. Let's say tomorrow, if you're going for an interview, telling that you have you have training experience, you have been trained on Fusion. Okay? Let's say you mentioned you are trained on ORC goals, performance, onboard journeys, and then let's say you also take like the core HR absence and all the other modules. Okay? So when you start speaking to your interviews, right, interviews say like let's say if you have a new functionality, how do you enable it? when you when you give the response like what if you give your response like this, we first enable the new functionalities in our staging instance, and then once we do our testings and once we do our UAT in the staging instance, and once we get our UAT sign off, then we migrate the solution from the staging instance to the production instance. When you give this kind of response to your interviewers, that then what will happen is the interviewer will get in confidence that okay, you know what you're talking about. So these terminologies are very crucial, especially for people who are trying to get into the Fusion applications. So as I said, this test or the dev instance, both combined together, we call them a staging instance or lower instances. So now, if you don't see test or dev in the URL, just like this one, then it means that it is in production or the live environment. Okay? And next you will see this FA. What does FA means? FA stands for Fusion Application. The reason why you see Fusion Application .fa is like, in Oracle Cloud, we have different kind of applications. We have Fusion applications, and then Fusion is like, part of the SaaS technologies, software as a service. Apart from that, we have platform as a service. Okay? So for those applications, you will see something called PA, PaaS application. So FA represents that, this is a Fusion application. And then the most important thing is like, this three letters, EM2, and then sometimes you will see US1, 2, 3, and then now like, you will see AE and SA with some numbers. What does this segment represent? This segment represents which data center your instances are being hosted from. Okay? So we all know Oracle Fusion is a cloud application, right? Since it's a cloud application, it doesn't mean that the data will be on the cloud, right? But physically, the data has to be in some machine, some servers, right? This data center represents which country, which the server is from which country, where all your data has been stored. So if I just go to our current instance, right, you see this, you don't see anything here. That's because This is a demo instance. If I just go to any other customer, okay. So you see, this is another customer instance. And then here you will see US2. That means that this customer data center is from US, and all the data has been stored in the US data center. This isn't very crucial, especially with the recent developments in a lot of countries, right? This is very crucial. The reason being that many countries have enabled data center policies. They have enhanced a lot of the data center policies. For example, Saudi Arabia, back in 2020 or 2021, they have brought a new rule where they mention, like, any government organizations or any data who is collecting their citizens' confidential data, their data center has to be within Saudi Arabia. They cannot have the data centers outside Saudi Arabia. So till that time, there was no data center in Saudi Arabia. So all the data centers were placed in Dubai. Sorry, not even in Dubai. They were placed in Europe or Amsterdam. This kind of locations. So after this rule, Oracle has opened multiple data centers inside Dubai, and then the same kind of scenario came up in UAE. Now Oracle have data centers in UAE. And then parallelly, Oracle is also building up the data centers across multiple countries. So we have data centers in India now. So this segment in the URL represents which data center we are currently in. Okay? So this is an explanation about the
What is
instance URL.
EM3, Harish?
EM3 is Europe. So in
Europe,
Europe,
okay.
yeah, in EM3, EM represents Europe. Okay. So in Europe, they have, like, 9 or 10 data centers. Okay? So this EM3 represents that, this is in Europe's third data center. So we don't know exact, the location, the city, the street and all. We don't know that, but we can find out that, this data center is in Europe.
Got it.
So in the Europe, in this data center, so there will be huge, servers where all this data would be stored. And then this data center, how do we pick the data center? Let's say the customers, right? Let's say I had a customer who had, like, presence in 18 countries, 18 countries from all the time zones. You pick any time zone, they will have a function, they will have an operations. You take Australia, we have like 5 time zones. They have their office in 5 different time zones. They have their operations in India, Singapore, and they have it in GCC also. So they have multiple countries. In this scenario, how will they pick the data center? Any idea, guys?
Based on the region?
Which region they will choose? You will have only one instance across the company.
Mm-hmm.
So which region they will choose?
The
So
physical
in such,
presence. Yeah.
no, see, in this scenario, right, what they normally do is, they will choose the data center of, of the head office country. Let's say for this customer, the head office is in Singapore. So they choose the data center in Asia. And then there would be certain scenarios where, like, if they have the presence in Europe, and other GCC countries, right? Then based on the legal teams, discussions, they will finalize which data center they wanted to use, because they cannot have the data in multiple data centers.
Okay.
So that's how these are, like, advanced level discussions, but just wanted to give you guys an heads up. See, when you go in for an interview, right, or when you're preparing yourself for the interview, imagine yourself as the interviewer. When you give some response, right, see, this is the best way for you to prepare your, interviews. Though we are still at the very beginning of a training session, but the very best way for your interview preparation, which I have personally explained, demonstrated with a lot of the previous batches, and it has worked out very well, is like, you first, prepare questions, right? And then when you give your responses, right, give response one by one. And then when you give your responses, record your responses, do an audio recording or a video recording, and then play back those responses, and then imagine yourself as an interviewer and try to shoot down, drill down, your response into multiple questions. That way you can able to, see, these are all like, from an interview perspective, I'm asking these questions. Okay. What if they have multiple, locations? And that's why I just thought of letting you know on this. Okay.
Harish,
So
I have a query.
yes, Manish.
As you, as you said that Saudi Arabia doesn't allow their customers' data to be gone out of the country. So then how the company will deal with that data? I mean, they will have that data center in Saudi Arabia. Uh, did you understand my question?
Yes, they will have a data center. Oracle has a data center in Saudi Arabia now.
Okay. So, I mean, a particular company can have multiple data centers in different countries.
No, they will have only one data center. Each instance will have only one data center.
One data
You cannot
center.
have
Okay,
multiple data centers.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So now that we have seen the instance URL and the breakdown of the instance, right? Let us quickly look into the different kind of projects we normally have as part of the Fusion. So we have fresh implementations, which are like very common. The customers migrate from another other ERPs to Fusion, or like maybe from an Excel file to Fusion migration. So basically a fresh implementation, and then we'll have re-implementations. Let's say if some customers would have implemented Fusion like 8 years, 10 years back, and then now they would be outdated, and now they wanted to restructure the Fusion. So we'll have re-implementation, or maybe we have seen in some implementations where the company was implemented would have done and a very pathetic job. They would have messed up the system, and in those cases we'll have instance re-implementation projects coming up. And then this is very not so very frequent kind of projects, but these days these are like very common. I have personally seen like a couple of projects in the last 2 3 years, which is instance migration. So, which is based, I can also say like, the data center migrations. So one example is like, the Saudi Arabia and in Dubai, right? So we had a customer in Dubai, it's a banking customer. So where we had, the data center in Amsterdam, and then we wanted to move the data center from Amsterdam to, UAE. Okay. So what happens is when there is a change in the data center, there is a change in the URL. So then, if there is a change in the URL, then it means that, we have to do a completely, a re-implementation. So that's how it, and then we had some work around. So it's a long project, but just giving a heads up. And then the most common type of project is some support projects, which are like, the AMCs. So these are the 4 types of projects we have in Fusion. And then when it comes to the roles, we have functional consultants. Basically, our training sessions, what we are gonna do in the next 50 hours, right? These are all like the functional training, and then yes, we will be adding few technical topics as well as part of our training sessions. But it would not be very pro technical. It would be like as a functional consultant, we need to know few technical aspects as well, which we will be covering it as part of our training sessions. Okay. And then so we have functional consultants who takes care of all the functional activities like speaking to the customers, getting the requirement, doing functional setups and everything. And then we have technical consultants who basically writes fast formulas, who creates BI reports, writing SQL queries and all, data loading. Those people are called as technical consultants. And then we have techno-functional consultants. So I believe since most of you are from the recruiting background, you would have already heard of these terms: functional, technical, techno-functional. If you ask me from the market demand perspective, we have techno-functional consultants are always the first preference, because they can do technical and the functional work. And then we have functional consultants with little more market presence than the technical consultants. And then we talked about seeded and custom. Seeded is like any data configuration is provided by Oracle is called a seeded data. Any data configuration which is not provided by Oracle is called custom data. And then
So Harish,
yesterday,
I
yes,
have.
Pankaj.
Yeah. So this technical consultant can be used in any module because they are into technical.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So because usually the functional consultant, they represent only one module, right? So they cannot work on different module. Whereas the technical consultant, they can work on any modules, right?
See, ideally speaking, yes, they can work on any module, but on a realistic or from a real-time scenario point of view, what
Mhm.
happens is just like the functional consultant, you need to know the functionalities and you need to know the configuration, the setups, the navigations. Similarly, for technical consultants, they have their own challenges. They need to know the table names. They need to know which data can be extracted, which data cannot be extracted. So they have their own challenges from module to module. See, if a technical consultant who has worked on, the ORC for, a couple of years, right? And then if you suddenly take him and if you ask him to build an, report for, core HR or, goals or performance, right? Then it would take little more time for him to build the report because he has to first understand what tables because he has been working on the recruiting module. If you ask him to develop a recruiting report, he would do it in a fraction of a second. But for him, for other modules, he may need some more time because he has to understand the tables, how the data has been stored, how to extract the data and all. So those logistic challenge will always be there for the technical and functional.
Okay, okay. So that in big organization, they will be having one functional consultant for particular module and one technical consultant.
See, those golden days have gone, Franklin, to be frank.
Okay. No, because
We,
okay, so just for a scenario example, so we do have functional consultant in our company for core HR, ORC, then learning and development. So, but we do have only one technical consultant. So
right.
that is the reason just I want to check on that.
Yes, that is how it would be functioning.
Okay, okay, perfect.
So, in before COVID times, like, we had, we used to have 1:1 or like, 2:1, like two functional consultants, then one technical consultant. Now, right, we used to have one technical consultant and, four, five functional consultants
Mhm.
because most of the functional consultants, right, they started adopting, upskilling and reskilling, right? Now a lot of functional consultants can, build their own reports, can load their own data, can write their own fast formulas. So things have changed.
Got it.
See, and especially when you go for your support projects, right, then the scenario would be completely different. You might have like four technical consultants and one functional consultants based on your projects again. In my current project, right, we have like eight technical consultants and two functional consultants because we have the scope of the project is more on the technical aspect and then functional work. So for this works, like two functional consultants are ideally good enough. So this kind of things happens. And yes, so in yesterday's session, like we talked about the quarterly patch updates and all, right? So as I said, right, in yesterday's session, Oracle they roll out four new quarterly patch updates a year. Okay? And then we use alphabets to define for an each quarter. For example, the first quarter patch updates, which is from January to March, we use this term A. Okay? So let's just like have to update. So this is how it would be. So for the first quarterly patch updates, we call it as 24A. And then for the second quarter, we call it 24B. And see, this is the year. So for this year's, like, we call the versions as 24. And then for last year, we call it as 23 A, B, C, D. And for next year, we have it like, 25, A, B, C, D. So year and then, the quarter alphabet represents which were, based on that, we can see which version we are currently in. So now that you understood the quarterly patch updates and versions, right? Let's say I go into the Fusion application. If we wanted to see which version we are currently in, then the best and the easiest way to see is like click on settings and actions. And then in the last you will see this I link here which says about this application. Once you click on it, you will see which version you're currently in. So this instance is currently in 24A. And then each instance will be released on different durations. For example, we have January to March, you will have the first quarterly patch updates, and then April to June, July to September, October to December. And then how this quarterly patch updates happens is, first Oracle will release this quarterly patch update on your staging instance. Okay. Staging instance or your lower instance, which is basically your test and the dev instance. So let's say on 1st of January, they will upgrade your test and the dev instance to 24A. Okay? And then Oracle standard procedure is like, after 2 weeks, 2 calendar weeks, they will, upgrade your production to your 24A quarterly patch updates. The reason why we get the 2 weeks buffer is because that 2 weeks, we do all the smoke test. What is in smoke test? Basically, we run through all the standard setups, like, for example, creating a requisition, applying as a candidate, verifying if the carrier sites is working fine. So all the setups, right, we do a basic sanity test, and that is what we call it as smoke test. And then we will do all the smoke test, and then if we have the time frame, then we'll see what are the new functionalities coming up, and certain new functionalities gets updated automatically, and certain new functionalities requires setups. So the ones which are automatically updated, we'll ensure those upgrades does not have an impact on our existing setups. So that's why we get this 2 weeks buffer. And some customers, right, what they do is, they will have a different buffer time. For example, one of my banking customer, for them, if the patch update happens in 1st of January, let's say, all the staging instances are migrated to 24A on 1st of January. The production gets migrated to 24A only on 1st of February. They have like 4 weeks buffer. They took an exception approval from Oracle to have like 4 weeks, because they have huge number of integrations. They had like, the process is so complex, so they had a 4 weeks buffer. And next thing is, if you ask me, Harish, will all the customers be upgraded to Jan? No, it is not like that. Oracle rolls out this quarterly patch updates, different times, different timelines based on the customers. So some customers, they will get their upgrade in January, some on February, some on March. Okay? So it depends on customer to customer. So whenever I start the project with any new customers, right? The first thing what I ask is like, when is the quarterly patch updates happen? Okay. So there are some customers for whom the staging instance gets upgraded in first week of March, and then the production will happen on the 3rd week of March. Okay. And then there are certain exceptions on this as well. Some customers, right, they always get a deferred quarterly patch updates. What does deferred quarterly patch update means? They get 24A on the 2nd quarter, and then 24B on the 3rd quarter. So they get the quarterly patch updates 1 quarter later. So these are the real-time scenarios how the quarterly patch updates happen. So any doubts or questions of our team on this?
So just like Scrum Epic Stories, so this will also move, is it? So 2nd quarter, I may have 24A implementation. Is it? I'm
Yes.
just trying to understand the last part of the.
Yeah, last part, yes. So some customers, they will have an explicit delay in their quarterly patch updates.
Mhm. Okay.
So
And
every customers will have their own business reasons for that.
mhm. And Harish, does this quarter format remains the same? There are some companies which follow, April to March, or some scenarios will
Yes.
have August, right?
This is calendar quarters,
Okay.
Gorgian calendar quarters, and this remains same across all the thousands of customers across the globe.
Okay. So that is not based on the company's format. This is a calendar year one. Okay.
Yes.
And Harish, this is an automatic update, right? So a functional consultant or a technical consultant should not go in and do the update. So it is an
Yes.
automatic.
So it is done by Oracle.
Okay.
So what happens is, in a real-time scenario, right? The IT team in the customer, right? They will have an IT SPOC. Okay? So the IT SPOC from the customer side, right? They get an email from Oracle, in advance. Let's say, for example, I have a quarterly patch update happening on, let's say, I have a quarterly patch update happening on 26th of February. Okay. So the customer IT Spock, they get an email by 5th of February telling that, there is a quarterly patch update in your staging instance happening on 26th. And then they get multiple reminders on 5th, 12th, 19th, and even 23rd or 25th, they get one more email as well. Okay. So why do they get this email? When there is a quarterly patch update happening, the instance would be down. So
Okay.
that means that during the quarterly patch updates, the application will not be accessible to the users, irrespective of whether it's a staging instance or a live instance. It will be down for the Oracle standard time frame. They say is 24 to 48 hours, but in a realistic time frame, it would be down for 12 to 14 hours. So when do this quarterly patch update happen? Whether it's for the staging instance or for a production instance depends on your customer's time zones. And then, based on your customer's working time. For example, if a customer is from Saudi, then they'll have the quarterly patch updates starts on Thursday after business hours of the customer time zone. Let's say if it is Saudi, they will have on Thursday, maybe around 11 p.m. Saudi time. And if the customers are from Dubai, then they will have it on Friday, because Dubai they work from Monday to Friday and Saudi they work from Sunday to Thursday. And then for other countries, most of the rest of the globe, right, they will have the quarterly patch updates happens only on Friday after business hours of the respective time zones. Okay? And the same behavior for the production quarterly patch update as well. So any other doubts or questions, team?
So because since we are in this page, so this navigation which you have mentioned, which we can customize, right? So
Franklin?
so can you go to this navigation, please? Yeah.
Okay.
So here you have lot of options, right? So I am an end user of Oracle Fusion. So I don't have this options. So it is limited. So we have maybe like 4 or 5 options.
Yes. So all these options, right? All these options are visible based on your roles. Okay. The roles which you have, based on the roles which is assigned to you, you will have
Okay.
use
Okay.
details,
The access. Okay, fine.
access. So you might be having only an employee role and then maybe a
Correct.
HR role.
Okay, fine. Perfect. Got it. So this is an open access which you have.
Yeah, see, this is a super implementation user.
Correct.
Okay, so that means I have access to all the modules. So that's why you see I have service, product development, help decks, and then you see a lot of this risk contract and the supply chain, all the order management, everything. And the accesses, right? Once you get your Fusion access from Unogeeks, right? When you log in with the access, you will also be using the similar kind of access.
Okay, got it.
Okay, hi Rizwana.
Yeah, hi Hari.
Yeah, hi.
For joining
Uh,
late.
no issues. So were you there in yesterday's session?
No, actually, I was about to join, but last minute I was facing some issue.
Okay, understood. So my name is Harish and I'm gonna be the trainer for this particular batch. And
Okay,
I have just a quick introduction about myself. I have close to 14 years experience in the IT space and been with the Fusion for 9, 10 years. Worked on pretty much most of the modules except the payroll and the compensation related modules.
okay. Yeah, actually, I want to clear some of my queries as
Yeah,
part of
before
this
that, can
training.
we have a quick introduction about yourself, Rizwana?
Yeah,
Just your
sure, sure,
skills and experience.
sure. Thank you. Yeah, myself Rizwana Virajdar. I'm working for one of the MNCs and I have 6+ years of experience in Taleo. I'm working as a techno-functional consultant right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So, if I'm not wrong, this training is for 8 weeks, right?
Yes, it's like close to 50 hours.
Okay. And then for how many duration shall we get the access of this instance?
See, with regards to the instance access, I believe you should be getting it for 3+ months, but you can just check with Prasad for the exact duration. To my understanding, it is
Okay.
like 3+ months, I believe.
Okay. So, for if we talk about the access, we can access the technical stuff as well, right?
Yeah, so basically you will be
Spreadsheet
given
loader,
an
data loader. If we want to give it a try by ourselves, then we can have access to that module as well. Am I right?
yes. So basically you will have an access something like what you see in the screen, right? The similar kind of access you will be having, where you will have access to pretty much everything. You will be given an implementation login. From there,
Mm-hmm.
like you can access whatever you wanted to.
Okay. So if simultaneously multiple user will access the same, URL, shall we get any issue?
I see in real time, right? There will be thousands of end users accessing the same URL, right? From the
Yeah,
customers.
but that is
So
actually the test instance, right? Or we
yeah,
can say
but
it as a demo
all
instance.
this
That's
is
why I'm
yeah,
asking.
yeah. This is also a demo instance dedicated for Unogeeks. So eh, you should not see any much traffic on this URLs except for all our trainees.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Again, as a part of this training, are we covering any technical stuff?
Yeah, so let me just go. So this is the agenda which we have for the different modules, ORC,
Mm-hmm.
onboarding, and then goals and performance. Okay. So there will be certain technical aspect, technical concepts. For example, right, we would be seeing, we'll be seeing how to, from the HDLs and then
Yes.
from reportings, but we will not be getting too core into the technical, but we'll be seeing from an, functional standpoint. When it comes to reporting, we will be talking from an OTBI perspective, which
Mm-hmm.
is like, the simple kind of reports which then functional consultants can build, but not from an SQL reports. Though, like,
Okay.
we'll see, I will share you the URLs where you can able to get the data,
Mm-hmm.
like the table names and all those things, but we will not be focusing much on the technical, but
Okay. Yeah,
from a
understood.
functional standpoint we would be
Mhm.
covering all the aspects.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, to work in technical, we must be, good in the functional aspects as well first. Yeah,
That's
that's fine. Yeah, that's it from my end. Thank you.
okay, fine, perfect, yeah. So now going back to our topic, so any other doubts or questions, Tim?
Uh, this might be a silly one, Harish. This quick
See,
action
okay,
that we see
yeah,
on.
sorry, Ashwini. Before you continue, right, Tim, this is one thing which I would request everyone: don't ever feel that your question could be the dumbest question, right? See, for you, you might feel that it's a dumbest question, but for others, right, just your question would be an eye opener for them to ask multiple other questions, right? So, see, we are all here for learning. Okay, so you are here for learning, and I'm here to resolve whatever the doubts and questions you guys have, right? So never ever ever feel that you question would be dumb or silly. Don't ever have that expression. We are all here for learning new things. So be open, be frank. Like if you don't know anything, just shoot it out. I'll try to help you as much as possible.
Sure. Thank
Sorry,
you,
Ashwini,
Harish.
to stop you.
No
Yeah, go
worries.
ahead,
But
please.
thanks for thanks for the so regarding this quick action that we see on the left hand side. So when I start working on the module, so is this modifiable? I mean, I can give additional options. I can remove something. Is that modifiable?
Okay, this list of actions, right? Yes,
Yes.
we can do that.
Okay.
See, for example, these are, some quick actions we have, like how many, we have?
Mm-hmm.
6, 8, 10, 12, 15. We have 15 quick actions. Let's say the customer comes and say, Harish, I don't want promote to see or instead promote, I want something else. Okay. So if you see, when I click on show more in below, right? I'll just
Mm-hmm.
zoom in. When I click on show more, I see lots of quick actions.
Oh.
I would have 100 plus. So let's say I want this profile types to be displayed in the. I wanted the profile types to be displayed in quick actions here. I can able to do that.
Okay. So its sequence can also be changed.
The sequence cannot be changed. Ashwini. These are like pretty much static.
Okay.
This sequence cannot be changed.
Okay, sure. Got it. Yes, Harish.
Okay, fine. So what will So any other doubts or
So the
questions?
sequence in the sense of the alignment which you are talking about.
I mean,
Yes.
the sequence is first instead of hire an employee, I want change
Right.
assignment.
Okay. So that
So
cannot
that's
be.
I don't think that can be done in this page.
Okay.
So any other doubts or questions, Tim? Okay, so if there are no other doubts or questions, then what we'll do is, we'll just, take a pass for today. And then from tomorrow, we will start with, now that, we have covered all the basics, right? So in tomorrow's session, what we'll do is we'll start with, the actual trainings. So we'll start with a course overview, objectives, we'll talk about each of these titles in detail. And then we will start with an introduction to learning, introduction to recruiting. So, just that, we are only on the second year, right? We are just trying to, have, 50 minutes to 1 hour duration for the sessions so that, it would be easy because for most of us, right, it's like too early for them to, get into the laptops and, start learning, right? So we just wanted people to get adapted to this time zones. And now that, we have completed 2 days of sessions, so from tomorrow, we should be mentally ready to start getting into the training mode. So we will start with the ORC topics tomorrow, and then we will go on a little slower pace. And then once we go into deep, core topics, we will increase the intensity of the training. And then, if any of you guys have completed your enrollment or yet to complete your enrollment still.
I'm
Okay.
yet to do that, Harish. This is Ashwini.
Okay. Franklin?
Yes, Harish. I will do that today.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
We'll do it today. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I have not
because
done it, but I'll do.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Suman. So, see, the reason being that, I was informed by Unogeeks that, from tomorrow, the training sessions would be, the links would be accessible only for the people who have completed enrollment. So, just wanted to pass on the information. If you have any doubts or queries, please reach out to your Spox in the Unogeeks. They will help you solve it. Anything on any doubts or questions on the training sessions, topics, anything, you can always reach out to.
Okay.
So with this, what we'll do, Steve, we'll just take a quick pass for today, and then we'll resume and we'll get started with the ORC training sessions from tomorrow.
Sure, Harish.
Harish.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day. Be safe, and let's connect tomorrow at 8 a.m. IST.
You
Yes,
too.
Harish. Thank you. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.